we'll watch the Billy Napier situation unfold. We could probably go back in the archives of the Matt Barrie Show presented by Allstate and look at Georgia from a year ago. They love playing with their food, don't
They
they?
do. They do.
I mean, Kirby Smart's going to tell you, can coach us up and win, but I don't think that Florida's as explosive as many people thought they were.
Well, yeah, I mean, 2 years ago it was Missouri on a Saturday night. They needed a last second play. Last year was Auburn. Remember, they were playing a
Yeah.
terrible Auburn team, and Carson Beck led them back. And it's hard to explain. I mean, so much of it is, I think players nowadays, Matt, other than the real issue, which was Georgia, they buy into what they saw the previous week, and they looked at Kentucky and they were terrible and they weren't physical. Yeah. Kentucky was very physical on the line of scrimmage. Georgia has had some injury issues, and they just could not move. They couldn't get anything going. And to me, it takes a lot of resilience to win that game. The good news for Georgia is they have a week off. I mean, rarely, except in a double bye season, do you get a bye your fourth week, but they needed it badly.
Yeah.
To kind of sit back, and everyone in the country knows what's on the other side of that bye week. It's Alabama.
Yeah, and that's when you're going to really start learning about who everyone is. Again, Georgia. We were sitting there in the studio yesterday, and Mullen and Galloway, and we're watching the game. I'm like, man, is Kentucky going to do that? And Mullen literally cackled out loud. He goes, hey, there you go. He goes, you're getting your hopes up. Anyone who gets their hopes up that Georgia's going to lose, he goes, it is just not going to happen. And this is when Georgia was down. He's like, it's not going to happen. And sure enough, Georgia, say this about them. They've won so many consecutive games, 41, 42 in a row, because in the regular season, because they know how to win games. Yesterday was no different. It was a little bit closer than people thought, but I'm with you, because this is a week that sets the table for the next week, because I think it's laughable that Tennessee's playing a team like Kent State. Everyone's doing it. I get it, but you're not going to learn much about them. Oklahoma gets by Tulane. Now we're going to know who Tennessee is next week, Nico Iamaleava. And I think, to me, the scariest team in the SEC no one's talking about in Tennessee. And then Oklahoma, still kind of an identity crisis with them. We don't know who or what they are, but strap them up, Oklahoma. It's SEC time. You're going to get a good one.
And we know about Tennessee's offense, but their defense looks like it may be what triggers them to a great season. And yeah, it's hard to believe in Oklahoma right now. I mean, they get the game day bus. By the way, hasn't been good luck. And I mean, I think South Carolina would have beaten LSU without game day. I am convinced that Beamer spent way too much time, grabbing shots with McAfee and Saban and Herbie, and not enough time working on the game plan, because the last couple of minutes of that game, Beamer was atrocious.
Yeah, like, how about Brian Kelly, by the way, finding a way to get out? Now, he had a couple calls, like the pick sixes that got overturned. That went his way. But think about the conversation we're having this morning of if BK and LSU are 1-2.
We've had great conversations, but my producers were hitting me up yesterday at 17-0, going, man, that Monday conversation is really going to be fun, isn't it? And I mean, I don't know how they won that game. Very similar to the Missouri game last year, if you remember, when they were in Columbia and they just pulled one out. But it's a good win for them. It's a great win for them, because now they have UCLA, which is terrible, but it will sound good when they beat UCLA.
I can't wait this week, by the way, for the talk shows. And I'm gonna give you a hypothetical topic, because I kind of think this is where it's gonna go from my experience. I would bet anything somewhere that the topic is gonna be, should Arch Manning supplant Quinn Ewers as Texas's starting quarterback? Now, the answer to that is emphatically no. But there isn't a program in the country that's got a better quarterback situation than Sark at Texas.
And that was really, to me, the most important story of Saturday, is that Texas. I mean, I don't think they look any different now. I'm sure the old timers will say, not that I'm a new timer, but hey, that experience of Quinn Ewers. But Arch Manning looks like he's been around, and I think Texas is in great shape. I think you'll get prop bets now. Can he win the Heisman this year?
I think he moved to 18-1.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I remember Spencer Rattler, wasn't he the Heisman favorite going into the season, and he got replaced by Caleb Williams?
Also the number one pick favorite too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's happened before, but I'm sure Sark will figure this out. It doesn't matter. Texas, doesn't have much on their dance card until we get to October, so they're in good shape.
Look, the lineage of the Manning family, we don't need to recap that here, but none of them won a Heisman Trophy, by the way. Like, of all the accolades of the Mannings, not one of them has a Heisman Trophy in their trophy case. I mean, Arch, because of the day and age of hype and social media and everything in between, and oh, by the way, accounting for 5 touchdowns yesterday, when it is his turn, I can't imagine what that Heisman hype is going to be like.
He's going to win, because I was just wondering if they get to the championship game and Arch is playing, will ESPN do a Manning cast?
Oh, well done. Yeah, I mean, you have to. And you got to have Cooper, his dad, on there. You
Yeah.
got to have the whole Art, you got to have the whole thing. Archie, you got to have the whole crew.
By the way, Archie, and I've been around long enough to remember him playing. He was, I mean, Peyton was clearly the best of the Mannings.
Yes.
But Archie as a college football player was iconic. I mean, there have been very few in his era that he should have won the Heisman, but he wasn't on a great team.
Yeah, look, it's going to be fun to watch the Art story. I think he's going to start next week at UL Monroe. I would not trot Quinn Ewers out for that, and we'll see where they are.
Then they have Mississippi State, so I mean, they really have a
Mississippi State.
They might be the worst team in the country.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, for Jeff Lebby to finally get that opportunity, lose to Arizona State the week before, and then do that to Toledo, like, where do you even go from that?
By the way, I'm curious. I didn't have time to look at it, but on StubHub today, I wonder what 11 o'clock kick, Starkville, Saturday, Florida at Mississippi State. What do you think you can get a ticket for?
You know what? That's where I would have put the SEC Nation bus.
Well, it was a close call.
I'd have trotted all you high money salaried SEC employees out there and made you tell stories in Starkville.
Well, it would be one more opportunity for Tebow to double down on Billy Napier.
You know what? You know what though? If you like Mario Cristobal sitting there this morning on the beach, loving Florida State and Florida Strike. Like, have you? And by the way, okay, so here's an example for you. And I brought up the Mullen thing earlier. That would be like Florida State firing Mike Norvell in 3 weeks after what he's done, 10-win season, 13-0. And it's starting to fall a little bit. That's because he hasn't really recruited him in high school. He hasn't. Just look at the rankings. I mean, that fall is absolutely shocking.
I had somebody ask me seriously. I mean, this isn't just some crazy person. Do you think Norvell should be fired? And I mean, I said, listen, I fired some good coaches in my time, but let's lay off on Mike Norvell for right now. I don't care what happens this season. He's still a very good coach.
The only thing that I think he needs to answer for, I really do, and I've said this for weeks now, what did he see at a DJU that we hadn't seen at 2 other stops? What did he see?
He saw a guy that used to be the number 1 player in the country, but that was about 4 years ago.
I just like, that's the one thing I'm like, God, Mike, like you had this thing going. Like, that is
now. Listen, Memphis is a good team, but still
they are. It's Memphis.
I mean, that was not as bad a loss as probably Georgia Tech
and Boston College. They go into Columbia and they fight Missouri. But look, I'm about tired of these no-week schedule games. I can't wait for football to get started. Let's just as we wrap up here, I want the people to understand that good games are coming. I'm going to quickly give you week 4. I think NC State Clemson has the opportunity to be really good. You've got USC Michigan in a classic Rose Bowl matchup. That'll be good. Utah, Oklahoma State, the Big 12 is going to start playing. And then the big one, Tennessee at Oklahoma. Like, there's going to be some substance in week 4.
Yeah, no, I mean, last week on paper was really dreadful. We got a lot of good games. We shouldn't have, but we did. And I was about to break my spell. We were about to get through the entire podcast without talking about one person, and I'm not going to talk about him. So we will maybe make history today.
Just to know that one person did get a win in a rivalry game, and he
Yeah.
had his son/quarterback still out there late slinging it up big.
But it just shows that that story has finally dimmed, that it's not that important anymore.
Let's just look real quick while we have you who that person has next week, because I don't have that person's schedule memorized. I mean, shame on me for not. Let's see. Let's go down to the Big 12 real quick while we have you. Big 12, there you are. Here they are. That person next week has Baylor and
Oh,
then UCF. So we'll see. Maybe that story from that coach will
yeah, a
hit.
couple of wins and they'll be back in the playoff run, won't they?
For Paul Finebaum, I'm Matt Barrie. That is week 3 of the Matt Barrie Show presented by Allstate.